Thank you, Karen. First of all, yeah, my name is Maria Isabel Morales, and before I start, I would like to thank everybody for being here, and Congresswoman Kathleen Morris for taking the time for being here today. So I am a fifth-year graduating senior, and yes, I just been recently accepted to the Cultural Studies program, PhD in WSU. If all goes well, I'll be starting this fall. So I always knew that I always wanted to reach high in my life, but even with ideals, I can't reach very far. But I always knew I wanted to go to college. I didn't know how, I didn't know where, I just knew I did. One thing led to another, the Chicano Education Program, MECHA, and other programs outreached to me, and I came to Eastern. When I got here, my plan was to finish in 4 years, get a good job, go back to my family, and get my mom out of working. And realize this dream that I've always had, which I was always reminded of every time I saw my mom coming home from work with her hands tired from hacking through all day long. I've always had this dream that one day I would take her on a trip, on a vacation for weeks or months, and where she wouldn't have to worry about anything, where she wouldn't have to worry about cleaning, working, or any of that stuff, and all she would do is relax. But life had much more fun for me as I was here in Eastern. I was first introduced to the McNair's program by a friend and a scholar at the time, Laura Preciado. I always remember when she would tell me, Chave, you gotta go there, you have to, you belong there. And I would always think, a PhD, huh? That sounds pretty good. But my plans were always to leave Eastern in 4 or 5 years, as I was learned that it was gonna take me. But even though that was my plan deep inside, a PhD just sounded really sweet. Especially because of my involvement with MECHA, with my community work and all the learning that I was going through. And I realized that I had to do so much more than a bachelor's, and I realized that it was not going to be enough for me and for my community, which was my motivation. I wanted change, but I still didn't convince myself to join the McNair's program. I remember the first day I talked to Dr. Karen McKinney. I remember how after I told her my story, she told me that I was a good candidate to be in the McNair's program. I also remember that every reason I gave her for not joining just turned into an excuse because she had a solution for it all. So I decided to apply, but I again changed my mind and I never turned in my application. I decided I was going to continue with the secondary education program I was in for years. But deep inside I felt like I was not doing what I wanted to do. Then came the talk with Dr. Cristina Garcia, who with her story, which was like my story, her understanding and the push she gave me, finally convinced me that I needed to stop lying to myself and that I needed to do what I wanted, which was a PhD. So one thing led to another and I became a McNair scholar. I participated in an amazing, stressful, fun, intense, tiring, but unforgettable research project with my mentor, Dr. Sanchez, who I also would like to thank sincerely because he helped me to understand that I don't need a dictionary of theories and top-notch language to write what my heart already knows. But even after I already was part of the program, there were many difficulties. Lots of times I was ready to give up, thinking I was just lying to myself, believing that I was smart enough to be successful in the program and to be successful in the PhD. In fact, after I did all the tiresome work of applying for graduate programs, I told myself that I was not going to go to graduate school and I was going to take a year off and I was going to work, pay debts, and relax. I don't know. I was invited to visit the WSU's Cultural Studies program, and I decided not to go because I realized, like, I'm not going to go there anyway. But being the supportive and loving people they are, Dr. Cristina and Dr. Martin Garcia decided to put on their superhero capes and kidnap me for a night. Well, they actually didn't kidnap me, but they did have capes on. Dr. Martin, and I remember Dr. Martin and I were texting in a presentation I was supposed to be in. One of the things he told me was, Maria, we must talk to you today, college when you're done. I'm sitting in this presentation, sweating, and just couldn't really pay attention, pay attention to what's going on. I left early because I knew they were waiting for me. And sure enough, they were waiting for me. They took me to dinner, and the first thing Dr. Martin said was, which like he had been listening to what I was saying in my head, which was, what do they want? So when Dr. Martin starts and says, so Maria, let's talk about your future. I was like, oh man, here we go. So the story goes that Ladidra, who works from the graduate school in WSU, called Cristina and told her that I canceled my participation in the dissertation program, which then told her how important it was for me to go because I was a top candidate. To make the story short, I will say that at the end of the conversation, I felt guilty for being mad at Dr. Christina and Dr. Martin for putting me in a position I was hiding from, mad at myself for being selfish, and dumb for not knowing how important this visitation was. I was also very thankful to them both for sacrificing their hunger and time in order to have this talk with me that night. So I went to the visitation, and right then and there I was accepted to the program, and I learned that the program was just the right one for me. So in nuts and bolts, this is my story. The TRIO programs such as the support services, McNair's, that provided me tools that I, being a first-generation student, had no idea existed within the university and opportunities such as graduate school. It has provided me with support in the harshest years of my career here in EWU, with strong pushes when I needed the most, and with free printing. The staff that work with these programs demonstrate a true passion and love for the students and the program. These programs are crucial for the students who share my story, and for those students that their stories I speak today. I ask you all to hear my story, which is that of many students in TRIO, and I ask for all of you to continue supporting these pivotal programs. My story is someone who has struggled but who has been aided by programs such as TRIO, but I feel like I can't say my story without mentioning the stories of the undocumented students out there who inspire me day by day. The many stories who are not heard but who are desperately calling out from the shadows, and who have and continue to fight against all adversities in order to pursue their dreams. Stories that motivate me to further to pursue a PhD in order to create change. For bills such as the DREAM Act and bills such as HB 1706, I ask all of you to continue supporting students like us and supporting programs such as TRIO, who like a family believe in us and push us forward. I'll close with a quote by Richard Bach that states, "You see things and you say why, but I dream things that never were, and I say, why not?"